Hi everyone, and welcome back to this week's video, which we will be talking about an environmental issue that is affecting Papua New Guinea. For today's discussion, since Papua New Guinea is an island nation located in South Pacific, we will focus on one of the current environmental issues faced by most coastal areas in Papua New Guinea, and that is sea level rising. Firstly, what is sea level rising? Well, in short, we can say it is the rising in sea level due to global warming caused by human activity. Here are three main examples of human activity which are seen as the main causes. 1. Sea dumping of harmful waste into the ocean. 2. Burning of fossil fuels, which result in releasing of harmful gases like greenhouse gas emissions. And 3. Deforestation. All these causes can be summarized and represented on this diagram as shown in figure 1.1. Humans have been evolving over time. Since the Industrial Revolution, humans started using machinery to work. There has been an increase in the annual temperature each year due to human activity. Humans over the ages have been evolving with development and infrastructure such as industrial factories. These factories have been releasing emissions like carbon dioxide and other harmful gases into the atmosphere through car exhaustion, deforestation, and burning of fossil fuels. The Earth is covered by an invisible blanket, which is known as the ozone layer. When harmful gases like chlorofluorocarbon, CO2, methane, and other fossil fuels are released into the atmosphere, it depletes the ozone layer, causing the heat of the sun to penetrate through the earth. This leads to increase in temperature, causing global warming. As a result of increase in temperature, it causes the ice and the glaciers in the poles to melt, leading to sea level rising and sinking of islands. Before we go into our main discussion, let's get ourselves familiarized with the country's background information. The independent state of Papua New Guinea occupies the eastern half of the island of New Guinea as well as numerous offshore islands. With a land area of 462,840 square kilometers and a population of over 8 million plus people, Papua New Guinea is the largest country in the Pacific both by geography and population. It has an abundance of natural resources with mineral deposits like gold, oil, and copper accounting for nearly 2/3 of the country's export earnings. Despite that, 85% of the population depends on subsistence agriculture. The natural environment throughout PNG is extremely fragile and highly vulnerable to both natural and human impacts. During the last 50 years, with such knowledge of the environmental fragility in mind, let's get started with the agenda for today. Sea level rise in Papua New Guinea has wiped out crops, pollute water sources, and destroy many homes along the coastal areas of Papua New Guinea. With all that being stated, most of the impacts mentioned above can be evidently seen in most coastal areas in Papua New Guinea. And here are 4 examples just to give you a clear picture of the impacts. Example 1. Madang Coastline and Islands. In Madang Province along the Masingan Beach, if you happen to go swimming or drive past that area, you will see clearly that the coastline has been eroded by backwash and swash due to rising sea level. There is not much being done to address this problem, and if the government or the responsible authority does not do anything to address this issue while they can, then there will be no road links to the town due to the fact that the road is just few meters away from the sea. Example 2. Manus Province. Manus, being a low island, is slowly sinking into the ocean due to rising sea level. Manus Province has been using sandbags to create a seawall or barricade to prevent water from entering inland. The Manus people, whose homes are next to the ocean, are slowly moving inland due to rise in sea level. Example 3. The Carteret Islands. Papua New Guinea's 6th low-lying island, which is located on the northeast of Bougainville. The island hosts 1,700 homes and a total of 2,500 inhabitants that have been named the world's first environmental refugees. It's a preventive measure that was taken by the PNG government that part of Papua New Guinea was seen as uninhabitable by 2015 and predicted to be disappeared by 2050. Due to rising sea level, the water had gone into their villages, destroyed their gardens and homes, food crops were unable to grow because of salt water, and fresh water had become contaminated and scarce. As a result, the island was not fit for people to live in. With the seriousness of this issue, there were a lot of laws, policies, plans, or even projects set in place to help with addressing this issue. Two of the key players in addressing this issue are government and NGOs. The government has come up with measures to address this issue, and one of which is planting of mangroves. Papua New Guinea maintains an ongoing conservation initiative to preserve its mangrove trees. Due to the rising sea level, it had caused erosion along the coastline. The mangroves were encouraged to be planted for natural barriers against coastal erosion, including other supportive incentives like providing funding for building of seawall, carrying out awareness on the importance of climate change, as well as coming up with tougher laws and penalties for that matter. The United Nations Development Programme and the Green Fund, working alongside with the PNG government, have established plans and ways into tackling sea level rising, one of which includes building seawall using sandbags, as well as pushing for ways to strengthen the existing international environmental laws that protects developing signatory countries like Papua New Guinea. Apart from government and NGOs, almost all the island provinces in the country have already started in working towards stopping the seawater flooding inland by using preventive measures such as planting mangroves, using sandbags, build stone walls, including other climate adaptive measures. With all that being discussed, in summary, as rising sea level is an unavoidable concern for the near future, it is also necessary to plan for the impact and scope of rising sea levels. Information and communication technology are useful for predicting the impacts of rising sea level so that the communities are aware of what to expect and are prepared to overcome it. Providing relief for communities affected, including food, shelter, and water, is also necessary and a reasonable goal for many charitable organizations. As more government and NGOs continue to address climate change-related issues, providing aid to those affected by such issues can become increasingly important in Papua New Guinea. Moving on to the recommendation, here are a few recommendations which we believe will help minimize the impacts of rising sea level. 1. Reduce greenhouse gases through minimizing the use of fossil fuels. 2. Protect wetland areas. 3. Plant more trees like mangroves. 4. Build strong and resistant seawalls. 5. There needs to be more awareness carried out in island countries on the importance of sea level rising and climate change. And lastly, there should be more support given to those vulnerable countries like the Pacific Island countries, which PNG is one of them. This is all for today's discussion. Thanks for watching and we hope you learned something. Before we go, we would like to leave you with a take-home message, and that is, the sooner emissions are cut, the greater the reduction of sea level is. So remember, whatever action you take today will determine your future tomorrow.